Hi. Breastfeeding is a little bit like dancing. So if you think about it, newborns are not the expert. And they come with dancing skills, but we call those reflexes. So those skills might include turning their head to a brush on their cheek or a tickle. They'll tend to want to turn that direction. And that helps them to locate where the breast is to be able to latch on. The second one is being able to open their mouth really wide. Um, and especially when their lips are stroked, and especially their lower lip often gets them to do that opening. Now you may be saying about your baby, my baby just doesn't open his mouth at all. Well, we do know that if babies are kind of curled forward as they're getting positioned for feeding, it brings their chin down against their chest. That's because babies really don't have much of a neck. So if we help that baby to kind of lean back a little bit, get a little bit in an extension when baby is brought to the breast, it gains us a little more space between their chin and their chest, and in that way they can open wide and are actually more effective at moving milk. So that could be a great thing for dad to do, because dads are great at playing with their babies. May not work exactly, when baby's asking for a feeding, but in between feedings, you can actually just work on tickling your baby and seeing how your baby responds and opens up to that light tickle touch. And remember, when the baby's going to the breast, we don't want everything touching baby. It is that light tickle that tends to say to baby, oh, open up really, really wide. Well, crying is another reflex. And if it is missed, those early feeding cues, or the baby's put off, then the baby kind of has to ratchet it up a notch or two to get your attention. And sometimes what happens is everything kind of falls apart because the baby is not organized at their feeding sequence once they get into that crying mode, because they just kind of get out of control. So instead, helping baby to calm down, however you can do that, will help, or finding the baby at those earlier cues. So a baby that's in early feeding cues is actually going from deep sleep, just beginning to wiggle around a little bit and to stretch, and maybe doing a little bit of mouth opening or sticking tongue out. Those are all good early feeding cues. Maybe beginning to root a little bit, anything kind of touching against there, they're looking for that nipple. And then if no feeding happens, the baby moves from those early feeding cues into more active feeding cues. So the baby, again, is ratcheting up a little bit, and they do nipple seeking, and they begin to make a little noise as they're looking for the breast. So they begin to go, ah, or they may do great big yawns. Because who can resist a yawning baby that you don't want to pick them up and bring them to you? And that's exactly what the baby is certainly looking for. Now, some babies will bring their hands to their mouth and begin seeking their hands. And this was a time of comfort for them when they were inside. So they're very organized at being able to do that. And that helps them to let their mom and dad know they are ready to begin a feeding. So you're going to see this increase in movement as the baby's saying, yes, I'm beginning to be ready to be picked up and offered a feeding. So a calm baby does better at remembering what part they need to bring to get a feeding going. Well, if mom is a first-time mom, well, she's not the expert. She may have had the opportunity to observe breastfeeding, maybe through siblings or friends or family, or maybe even on the internet. But a very different thing to be sitting in the driver's seat and shifting all the gears themselves. So mom may feel a little bit overwhelmed. So you want to reassure mom, you're doing a great job. Let's just calm baby down, and then we'll try again to get that feeding going. Now, if mom isn't a first-time mom, and this is a second or subsequent baby for her, well, it's all going to come back. The memory cells are still there. She just needs to reactivate them again and kind of remember what that newborn was like. Because newborns are a little bit different than babies that are a little bit older. So again, reassure mom what a great job that she's doing. And what you will find is once they've got that learning or relearning happening, watching a feeding is almost like seeing something magical. And it's rather like the last week of Dancing with the Stars, where everyone is just going so smoothly. They don't stop at each dance sequence to try to figure out what they need to do next. They flow from one part to the next. So at the end of the whole series, all it would take for the dancers is maybe a little pressure on the back or the shoulder or the waist to signal to the other partner that a twirl is coming or a dip is coming next. It will be the same way with your baby. It's just going to take just that little bit of movement and bringing the baby to the breast, and baby will say, oh yeah, I know what's going to happen. And often they will settle down and really concentrate once they kind of have the breast in front of them. And all it will take is just that little nudge to get the baby going. And then, the experts, and you will be ready to take that mirror ball trophy home. You will be the experts then. Join us next time when we talk about how do we calm a baby down? How do we make that go a little bit easier to make the feeding happen? See you next time.